monumental of the group, and this is the one that Raymond Weil called T1, Tomb 1. So in his report, Weil says,
what if everything we thought we knew about King Solomon, the gold, the wisdom, the temple, was only half the truth? In 2025, beneath layers of dust and centuries of silence, archaeologists unlocked a tomb that didn't just rewrite a chapter of history, it cracked open the whole book. A faint hum beneath the desert's surface. A whisper trapped for millennia. And beneath 5,000 years of rock, a secret that dared someone to look deeper. What if everything we believed about Solomon's tomb is about to be rewritten? That's the question that pulled Dr. Emily Carter's team into the silence below the Jerusalem hills, and hooked us all on a journey none of us saw coming. King Solomon ruled around 970 to 931 BCE. He was the boy king turned legendary monarch whose wisdom still echoes today. You've heard the stories, the two mothers claiming a single child, Solomon's test splitting the truth apart. You've seen the grandeur, the magnificent first temple glistening in stories, cedar from Lebanon and gold that dazzled caravans like the Queen of Sheba's, which recent archaeological reports confirm was more than myth. He penned wisdom that survived centuries. Proverbs, Ecclesiastes, Song of Solomon. His copper mines in Timna Valley weren't just functional. They were industrial marvels fueling his empire's wealth. Sophisticated shafts, smelters, real evidence that backed biblical verses. And his fleet? Going all the way to Ophir, bringing back ivory, gold, and exotic birds? His kingdom lived legend. But late in life, Solomon's own story became tangled. Hundreds of foreign consorts, lavish spending, foreign gods creeping in. A kingdom held up by wealth but cracking under its own ambition. It's a contradiction that still pulls us in. A man rich in wisdom yet tested to his limits. And that brings us back to today. Modern scholars have been hunting for his tomb for centuries. Why did it vanish, and why now? Until very recently, nobody knew. But Dr. Carter's team cracked the code by weaving ancient tax scrolls with satellite imaging. Tribute maps, geometric anomalies in the hills. They followed breadcrumbs buried in grain records. They found a hard, engineered stone layer so precise it looked designed to mislead tomb raiders. And that shepherd boy legend popped up again. Sparkling walls deep underground, just like the texts suggest. It wasn't folklore, it was a clue. Then a storm rolled in. Heavy desert rain carved a small crevice, revealing a long hidden entrance. Ground-penetrating radar picked up tunnels. False passages built to collapse. Clever ancient tricks designed to protect what lay beyond. Dr. Carter, referencing the newly published April 2025 Muon imaging study at the City of David site, used those cosmic ray scans to guide each step. Her team had to balance caution and curiosity. One wrong move, and the entire site could collapse. Could this be the real deal? Every moment felt like moments from a treasure novel. Relentless, unpredictable, unpausable. Over 3 months, the team endured broken machinery, stone barriers, ancient traps still set. Funding evaporated just as they unearthed a tiny seal bearing Solomon's emblem. It looked almost too small to matter until donors rallied, proof enough to continue. They began modeling in 3D each artifact documented before another grain of sand could shift. They used both old-school stratigraphy and new-school AI pattern recognition to match chamber layouts with biblical-era architecture. And then the tomb nearly slipped away again. An earthquake trembled the site, shifting support beams and threatening collapse. But instead of pulling back, the team doubled down, splicing modern steel supports with ancient load distribution knowledge. Almost like Solomon's own engineers had planned for centuries ahead. Finally, they faced the tomb's heart, a massive stone door, etched with geometric grooves tied to Hebrew numerals. 7th-month Sabbaths, the exact code to align with Solomon's birth date, they believed. Opening it was like watching time rewind. As pressure points clicked, 7 in total, each mapped to events from his reign, the chamber began to shift. What's behind this door? It took 3 days of synchronized pressure. 3 teams, 3 shifts, all tracing their moves with laser precision. One slip, one missing sequence, and falling debris would have sealed the tomb forever. But then, gears groaned. Light spilled in. After 5,000 years, the air exhaled dusty history. Conservationists rushed in to stabilize humidity, oxygen, and temperature, knowing well that even a breath could undo centuries of preservation. Inside the corridor, walls wore cryptic symbols. Hebrew letters, numeric riddles. It was designed as an intellectual labyrinth, a final test of worthiness. And at the end, they paused. Knives at ancient stones, hearts pounding. Because there, just beyond, awaited the secret Solomon carried with him into eternity. What unimaginable relics await discovery? We're standing at a moment that could reshape how we see Solomon, not only as a mythic figure, but as a real man who built an empire, faced contradictions, and engineered his own legacy down to the grave. Unlike any found in the first chamber, radiated mystery. It seemed the tomb had been designed in layers, each one deliberately more complex than the last. No one had prepared them for this moment, but their experience cracking the first lock suddenly made sense. They were now inside an intellectual labyrinth crafted by ancient minds. The moment the news reached universities and archaeological journals, it spread like wildfire. Experts around the world called this breakthrough a paradigm shift in burial archaeology. It wasn't just about opening a door, it was about uncovering the mindset of engineers from 3000 BCE. Dr. Carter's words echoed in every press release. We didn't just force entry, we started thinking like the builders. This wasn't hyperbole, it reflected an emotional bridge between our age and Solomon's era. Could a tomb teach us the worldview of a legendary king? That question gripped the world. Once the dust settled and as cameras and notebooks appeared, the team prepared to enter. Would they uncover relics that rewritten history? The silence was thick enough to cut as Doctor. Carter took the lead. A hush fell as flashlights swept across the stone threshold. What lay beyond was like another universe, so perfectly preserved that the air felt frozen in time. The first chamber was illuminated by a celestial spectacle, thousands of golden flecks suspended in the dim light, each one glinting like a star in a midnight sky. Murals vibrantly intact portrayed Solomon's defining moments. Judgment scenes, diplomatic councils, even a meeting with the Queen of Sheba. The walls seemed to breathe, animated by stories etched in time. A massive golden throne took center stage, lion-headed armrests looming. The throne's cushion still bore the contour of its last occupant. It felt like stepping into a living memory rather than a tomb. Dr. Hughes examined the throne and noted an uncanny match to biblical descriptions. 6 steps, 12 lions, a literal embodiment of Scripture. And around the room stood ceremonial items, 7 brazen menorahs, pristine and shimmering, incense burners still faintly scented, somehow suspended in their last ritual purpose. But these artifacts weren't just relics. They were personal extensions of Solomon himself. On a small marble table lay Solomon's personal seal ring, engraved with a 6-pointed star. Near it, fragile scrolls in ancient Hebrew script rested in wooden containers, possibly drafts of lost proverbs or legislative records. Finding what could be Solomon's own writing sent a chill through everyone present. Even the air seemed to preserve his presence. Some vials held what appeared to be sacred anointing oils, their original scents undetected but chemically intact. In a secluded corner, a private space emerged. Solomon's study. A wooden desk still held reed pens and ink pots. It was as if he had stepped away for a moment, leaving behind the instruments of creation. Could this really be where biblical verses were composed? Trade wealth became tangible too. Shards of Chinese silk, African ivory, and jars of Indian spices lay quietly in corners. These relics confirmed his historical trade networks. Here lay proof that ancient global commerce was not myth. It was reality, backing every tale of Solomon's international reach. Yet the most enigmatic find awaited. A locked chest standing solemn in a shadowed niche, adorned with undecipherable symbols. It seemed to pulse with silent energy. Dr. Carter approached with reverence, suspecting this sealed chest carried Solomon's most guarded secrets. But its mechanism was sealed by time, unopened and untested. The team paused collectively, aware this was just the beginning. One chamber held enough treasure to fill museums and rewrite history. Beyond, dark corridors hinted at even deeper revelations. The question shifted from what they'd uncovered to what was still hidden. When they watched flashlights shift deeper, they agreed. Stories of Solomon's wealth might have understated reality. Gold artifacts lined the walls, so copious that the chamber resembled a treasury vault instead of a burial place. Heavy vessels, frankincense repositories, ritual tools. Each artifact whispered of opulence and devotion intertwined. Among the treasures, one shard stood out, a blue gemstone. Ancient texts called the Shamir, legendary, mystical, rumored to cut stone with a touch. This gem was real, nestled among emerald eggs and ruby embers. It cast refracted patterns on the stone floor. Could this be the legendary Shamir, or simply a mythical echo? Beyond its value, the tomb contained documents gold couldn't buy. Scrolls exquisitely preserved, detailed administrative ledgers, international agreements, and even personal wisdom not preserved in canonical texts. One parchment, echoing Ecclesiastes, warned, "Love of wealth leaves the heart empty." That scroll lay right beside jeweled scepters, an ironic testament that Solomon understood ultimate value wasn't stacked in vaults. Further exploration revealed musical instruments, possibly the actual harp used in early psalms. Intricate constructions in bronze, tiny gear-driven artifacts hinted at astronomical devices. These mechanisms conjured comparisons to the Antikythera mechanism off Crete, where bronze gears predicted celestial movement centuries before medieval clocks. Were Solomon's engineers connected to that lineage of precision? Even textiles, ceremonial robes threaded with gold, survived 5,000 years intact. Their complexity matched only by modern craftsmanship. Lining jars of spices were extinct botanicals now unknown to modern science. Each one unraveled more of Solomon's deep reach, economic, botanical, spiritual. In a quiet corner lay tablets inscribed with sequences, possibly primitive mathematics or coded religious concepts. They hinted that Solomon's court thinkers were as interested in patterns and logic as they were in gold and glory. As the team secured the chamber and prepared to advance inward, the weight of their findings settled in. They'd found proof of an empire's wealth, wisdom, global reach, and their own audacity to pursue truth. But the tomb still hid deeper layers. To truly understand Solomon, they'd have to venture further into darkness. Beneath the ancient stones of Jerusalem, what began as a simple excavation has evolved into a full-scale reimagining of biblical history. And now, deep inside the tomb, once believed to be lost to time, researchers have stumbled upon a set of inscriptions that may hold the most shocking revelations yet. Whispers carved in stone that seem to speak directly across millennia. It wasn't merely decoration. The tomb's walls functioned like an encrypted time capsule. Etched into the eastern chamber, scholars found what appears to be a personal prayer from Solomon himself, voicing quiet doubts beneath a crown of gold. "May wisdom guide my hand as stars guide sailors." A plea, poetic in its simplicity, left many stunned. Was this the moment a legendary king became human again? But this was just the beginning. Across the ceiling stretched celestial charts aligned with ancient star maps, proving the Israelites charted constellations with a level of mathematical precision that has forced astronomers to recalibrate long-held timelines. Could it be that they understood orbital patterns and lunar cycles 1,000 years before such knowledge was thought possible? Even now, researchers are using AI-powered simulations to test the accuracy of these celestial alignments, many of which match modern calculations to the second decimal. Behind what was once thought to be a sealed corner wall, a false panel gave way to a cache of letters. Diplomatic correspondences not only with Egypt and Phoenicia, but with unnamed kingdoms across what is now southern Europe and North Africa. One fragment references an exchange of agricultural innovations, suggesting a cross-cultural knowledge trade that predates the Roman Empire by centuries. And one sealed envelope, never opened until this year, contains a wax imprint eerily similar to symbols found on recently unearthed Iberian ruins, linking two civilizations thought to have never met. The most curious element? A coded inscription in a script eerily similar to Proto-Greek, concealed beneath limestone dust. Dr. Robert Hughes, a linguistic cryptologist, worked tirelessly to decode the message. What emerged were descriptions of engineering methods used to construct the first temple. No mortar, weight-based pressure locks, cooling systems built into the floor. Each line of text demolished the idea that Solomon's temple relied solely on divine favor or slave labor. These were engineers in the truest sense, thinkers operating centuries ahead of their time. And yet, for all its grandeur, the tomb is filled with signs of humility. In one corner, next to what scholars believe was the royal resting place, artisans left notes. Carved delicately into the stone were words like, "For our wise king, we built this with love." These tiny markings have triggered a massive reevaluation of labor roles in ancient Israel. Were these workers paid? Revered? One theory suggests these craftsmen may have been specially trained guild members, ancient architects whose knowledge was passed down through oral traditions now lost to time. The Western Wall offers something entirely unexpected: detailed inscriptions describing medicinal practices with remarkable accuracy, honey for infections, herbal tinctures for inflammation. One diagram, yes, a diagram, shows the process of stitching wounds using sinew and bone needles. It's eerily close to techniques used in 19th century field hospitals. For a civilization dismissed as pre-scientific, this changes everything. Could ancient medicine hold answers modern pharmaceuticals have overlooked? Perhaps the most emotionally charged revelation concerns the Queen of Sheba. For centuries, her existence sat somewhere between legend and literature. But here, etched into the stone with solemn grace, she emerges as real, powerful, and central to Solomon's reign. Inscriptions describe her contributions to sustainable agriculture and water irrigation, a collaboration that made Solomon's lands bloom in arid conditions. Her depiction is not romantic, but equal, an intellectual force. How did the world forget her real legacy? And then came the melodies. Hidden beneath layers of soot on the tomb's northern arch were musical notations. Ancient sheet music, perhaps the oldest known to date, is currently being reconstructed by musicologists. Could we soon hear the soundtrack of Solomon's court? The very songs that echoed through marble halls 3,000 years ago? The possibility sends chills down the spine, but for all the revelations, one object continues to baffle experts: a black cube, sealed with resin and marked with ancient warnings. When finally opened in early 2025, it revealed something surreal. A series of maps, drawn in extraordinary detail, showing a network of subterranean tunnels beneath the Temple Mount. Laser scans now confirm the existence of some of these tunnels, sparking controversy and renewed geopolitical debate. Were these passageways escape routes, ritual paths, or storage for something never meant to be found? Each artifact, each line of text, doesn't just revise history, it reshapes it. Solomon's tomb, once a symbol of myth, has become a hub of active academic revolution. Environmental samples taken from wood and textiles inside the tomb are now helping climatologists map out shifts in regional climate over 3,000 years, a crucial tool in understanding present-day weather instability. And with AI-assisted modeling, engineers are decoding the architectural blueprints embedded in wall carvings, plans that may soon influence modern sustainable construction. This entire discovery raises a profound question. How much of our ancient stories are rooted in truth, buried not by fiction but by forgetfulness? Dr. Emily Carter, now globally recognized as the lead archaeologist behind this historic revelation, reflects with visible emotion. At first, no one believed us. Now, this is the find of a century. The greatest surprise for her came from a set of stone tablets, containing not orders or laws, but personal reflections penned in Solomon's hand. They discuss the burden of power, the isolation of leadership, and his struggle with justice. These writings, Carter believes, will redefine Solomon, not just as a figure of wealth and wisdom, but as a deeply reflective human being. The reverberations of this find have extended beyond academia. Private collectors, museums, and think tanks are vying to be part of the research. But Dr. Carter insists, this belongs to humanity, not the highest bidder. Her team continues working under tight security and international oversight, with plans to create the world's first open-source digital museum of a royal tomb. And amid this whirlwind, one particular figure draws comparisons. Jay-Z, once a hustler on Brooklyn streets, now a business mogul of global scale, embodies a modern parallel to Solomon's arc of influence. His car collection includes a Maybach Exelero and Rolls-Royce boat tail. He's frequently spotted wearing ultra-rare Patek Philippe timepieces, each worth more than most homes. His real estate empire spans Bel Air to the Hamptons, while his use of private jets like the Bombardier Challenger 850 mirrors his high-stakes, time-sensitive lifestyle. As co-owner of Rock Nation, Doucet, and part owner in Uber's early rounds, his portfolio speaks volumes. High-profile collaborations with Tiffany & Company and Puma further elevated his brand. It's reported that he maintains asset insurance in the hundreds of millions, covering both health and intellectual property. The lesson? Strategic diversification, paired with discipline, turns legacy into dynasty. In the end, the story of Solomon's tomb isn't just about what once was. It's about what we choose to remember, what we've dared to forget, and what we still don't know. The past has opened its mouth and spoken, but are we truly listening? If this left you questioning everything you learned in school, you're not alone. Hit that like button if this blew your mind. Drop a comment with your favorite theory, and make sure to subscribe.